Representative Johnson, is your amendment an offer to this body of a less restrictive means to accomplish the same goals as stated by the bill author?
Yes.
Okay. And so what you're asking this body to do is to vote on a system, a slightly different system, which keeps a lot of the bill in place, which keeps a lot of the controls in place, but provide a less restrictive alternative in regulation to this issue. Is that correct?
Correct. This amendment keeps the entire surgical ban in place, and it keeps the vast majority of the ban in place, except in the rare severe circumstance where you have two medical professionals, two mental health professionals, in conjunction with the parents and the pediatrician and the oversight of an impartial state agency determining that this care is necessary to accomplish two goals, which is to treat severe gender dysphoria and limit self-harm of the child. That's the very narrow exception that you would be putting in place by adding this amendment.
And this amendment would still address all of the issues that the bill sponsor has laid out, that the bill sponsor says is a very compelling interest, and still addresses those same interests that they say is compelling, correct?
Absolutely. This amendment still allows every issue that your constituents have called you and told you they're concerned about, that you get to say, I took care of that issue, but I made sure that those Texas families in an exceptional position didn't have to leave this state.
And I've heard the bill sponsor say this a few times now, that there is, in his mind, there is no ability to tell what is a severe case and what is a mild case. Did you hear the same thing?
I did hear it, and we know gender dysphoria is a medical diagnosis that has a definition of 6 months. The reason, and look, this was in communication with the entire body. When we said, hey, I think too many people are getting this treatment, then we said, great, let's come up with severe. And severe means you can sit down with parents like Frank Gonzalez, and you have the opportunity for all of these professionals in a state agency to say, when did this start? Did it start as a teenager on social media? Or did it start as a toddler when they can walk into the store and pick the shoes that best represented their identity at the age of 3? This bill allows those families to be heard and medically treated.
And so what I take away from the bill sponsor's answer and that response is that there could be mild gender dysphoria, there could be higher levels of gender dysphoria. Would you agree with that?
No, and let me be clear about this. I think there is, as our community knows, as an LGBTQ community, most of you always know who you are, but there comes a point in time where you tell everybody else. And so gender dysphoria is when somebody knows who they are. What we're trying to recognize here in severe is to recognize those families who have been open, authentic, and their kids have a strong relationship with them, and they are asking for emotional, mental, and medical help. We are trying to find a path for those of you that have countlessly come and tried to knock on the doors of these members to say, I exist, my child exists, I love them, and we are doing everything that we can. Please don't shut us off from our doctors. Please don't shut us off from our state and our home.
And so the offering of this amendment, is there a recognition that there may be some cases that if 5 doctors agree to it and say these doctors agree to it, this child definitely needs this treatment, that this would provide that option?
Yes, if you adopt this amendment, it means some teenager can't go into a clinic and say, can you give me hormones? Because I've heard that concern, that hormones are handed out like Pez. This amendment eliminates any of that concern because you would have the child with their parent, with their pediatrician supervision, 2 medical professionals independently, 2 mental health care professionals independently, that then submit that file to an impartial board created by the state to say that in this circumstance, we believe that this is the best and only course to allow this child to be healthy and allow this family to remain in the state.
And finally, just saying the original bill before your offering of the amendment, a blanket ban would not be, what would we say, the least restrictive way to handle this.
A blanket ban is something we haven't done. We didn't do it for lobotomies. We didn't do it for opioids. I'm going to use those examples because that's what he used. He gave you the call to arms of why we needed to respond, but you didn't respond to any of that in the manner in which this bill would totally eliminate a population of Texans and their families.